How can you dive into your fem power and lead and succeed? I'm Annie Gibbins. Women's Biz Leaders starts now. Women's Biz Leaders, presented by Women's Biz Global, where each episode we dive into the journeys and successes of remarkable women in business. Navigating the corporate can come with challenges, and in this episode we unveil the strategies to step into your fem power and thrive. Joining me is Amanda Blesing, a C-suite mentor, CEO and founder of the She Suite. Welcome to the program, Amanda.
Hi Annie, wonderful to be here.
Great to have you on the show today to talk about all things fem power. It's such a great phrase. I already feel its power. I'm connected to it. I'd love you to share, what does fem power mean to you and what does that look like in the corporate world?
Yeah, fem power, it is a great phrase and I'm really excited to talk about it. But firstly, let me just say nothing bad happens when women invest in themselves and their careers. Research proves time and time again that it's not just great for women, it's great for business, it's great for communities, and it's great for families. But back to fem power, I'm obsessed with helping women win pay rises, promotion, and the recognition that's rightfully theirs. And you know what happens, Annie? Sometimes you wake up one day and you realise, oh my gosh, I've spent my entire career making other people look good, but I haven't done the same for myself. So that's what I do. I teach a strategic and I guess powerful approach to navigating your career. And my goal is to halve your effort but double your impact, because women are already really busy enough. So we don't want to necessarily give them more to do. We need to tap into the power that they already have, the talents, the expertise, the traits that they already bring to the table, and amplify that. So that's fem power.
Oh, I absolutely love that, and that is so true. So many women just underappreciate how amazing they are, but all those skills, gifts, talents that they have sitting on there and often are serving others all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a good opportunity for our viewers today to actually start thinking, you know, have I been doing that for myself? So how do you encourage women specifically in a male-dominated area? There's so many of those, construction, IT, finance, we could go on. How do they tap into their fem power?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's actually really challenging for women in masculine-dominated environments, because masculine-dominated environments tend to come with and often come with, you know, some biases, some microaggressions, and, you know, some behaviours that sometimes make women feel uncomfortable and don't feel included, especially if they are one of few. But one of the things I think that younger generations of women coming through, they don't want to necessarily model the old Joan Collins, which was, you know, big hair, big shoulder pads, go hard or go home. We don't want to do that. They want to be themselves. They want to be able to bring their more authentic selves to the workplace. Leadership is a masculine-dominated environment with 80% of leadership roles still held by men here in Australia. So in actual fact, the women that I work with, no matter what the sector, are often still dealing with these microaggressions and challenges that others don't necessarily face. So once again, it's coming back to bringing your authentic self to the table, finding ways to be yourself. Don't dismiss your femininity. It's actually okay to be a woman, to bring empathy, to bring emotional intelligence to the table, because it will be, in actual fact, your secret weapon. Fem power works.
Fem power works. Fem power is your secret weapon. I remember years ago I went to a meeting, and I think it was me in a room of 19 other men, and they went, oh, here comes Annie with her florals, and I had a florally dress, and it's kind of like going, yep, well, I think all the grey suits are taken already, so I'll show up as myself and start pushing it. And it's all right to actually acknowledge that in the room and to start really stepping in, and which leads me to my next question about confidence. You know, it's all right for someone like Annie Gibbins Gibbins or Amanda Blesing to actually say that. Step into it, ladies, you know, really embrace your fem power. But how do we help people feel confident in themselves and their own strengths as they lean into becoming more authentic when they show up at work?
It can be actually really quite, you make yourself quite vulnerable when you are your more authentic self.
Yes.
So sometimes we might hold our cards close to our chest and wait and see. So we're not putting our more confident foot forward when we step into, maybe it's a new role, maybe it's a new arena and a new division in an organisation. We may not be bringing our most confident self to the table. But the work I do is around branding and confidence, and we know that branding and confidence won't fix gender equity. Let's be clear, they are not a panacea to fix gender equity, but they do make women feel great and empower them to step up into big roles and be the best leader they can be. So when it comes to confidence and branding, I encourage women to think about 6 things. Okay, 6 things. The first is, what is your experience? What is your expertise? And what are the things you care most passionately about? And there's a lovely intersection there that you can sort of, reflect on that help you sort of own your own awesome. And then we want to do, what are the problems you solve? What are the differences that you make? And what is the value that you add? And that last one about value is so important. Women in particular haven't necessarily and historically put numbers and quantified the metrics on their CVs.
Yes.
And I really encourage women, don't just do it on your CV, do it in your confidence folder, do it in your, in your braggalog, as Peggy Klaus calls it. Like, collect this evidence and quantify it, because that is the language that business values and understands. It helps you put a more confident foot forward because you know your own value. You've done it and you can clearly communicate that with decision makers and people and hiring managers and people you want to impress.
Absolutely. So well articulated and so valuable to our viewers to be hearing this sort of conversation, because I notice the difference when I meet people, how they introduce themselves, if they actually own their skills and their expertise and have clarity around that. If I go to their LinkedIn profile, are they clear in who they are? Because that's right, you are in a business world and there is obviously a lot of wealth, a lot of opportunity surrounded in this very conversation. It sort of starts by a self-reflection, doesn't it? So I think as we go on this journey, it's a time to pause and reflect on where you're currently positioned and where you're wanting to go.
Absolutely. The self-awareness is just one piece. So, and I think women are can be quite good at the self-awareness piece, and sometimes that self-awareness piece can get in the way of our progress. We tend to assess perhaps a little bit too accurately. And it causes us to underestimate ourselves, to second guess, and to not reach quite as high up into the promotion ranks. So this self-awareness, while it's a great thing, can in actual fact undermine our journey. So I encourage women to perhaps learn to more accurately estimate themselves, and but more importantly, have a career strategy. Now that sounds like a really masculine tool to have, doesn't it? I want to shy away from that. Yeah. But I encourage you to have some sort of a plan, because if you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there?
Exactly.
Or even if you're on the right track. So whether your career strategy is circular or horizontal or vertical, or I don't care what it is, having some sort of plan and then creating a team around you to support you to get there, that's really, really important.
And what you finished there of having the team around you is so important, because there are so many societal sort of the fabric that we got raised in of, be seen, be heard, don't blow your own trumpet, you definitely don't want to show that you're too good at anything, put others before yourself, all these sorts of issues, which are all, many of them are obviously well-meaning, but they do influence us. And that's what you're saying when you're seeing people not go for certain roles, not putting their hand up, not speaking up at a meeting. We really see the effect of that. So how do you help people really lean into their authenticity appreciating that, because it's a hard journey. It's a hard time to actually reflect and go, oh, but this is who it's almost like, I don't know if other ladies relate to me. You feel like, but I don't want to be seen as a bad person. I don't want to be seen as selfish. I don't want to be seen as hard. I want to be that feminine self, have that femme power, but I also need to lead, I need to grow, I need to be successful.
Yeah, you're so right. And there's so many, I guess, paradoxes in this space, in the gender equity, femme power space. So many paradoxes. And you've probably heard of them. And in actual fact, you just sort of listed one. You know, you don't want to be seen as too aggressive or too assertive. And that's actually one of them. The competence versus likability paradox, where women are either seen as competent or likable, but never the two, which is just crazy, fascinating. I know, like really, we can be both. Like we can chew gum and walk and talk at the same time. Then we've got my initial ideas sort of came from my research into self-promotion for women, because it's really different for women. Women are damned when we do, yet doomed when we don't, because we're socialised to be humble, and so when we put ourselves out there, one, we feel uncomfortable. It's sort of breaching our own narrow stereotype norms and makes us feel really icky. But two, other people can judge us. We feel vulnerable and we can be overexposed. Then we've got things like the second shift. And I don't know if you've heard the term, Annie, but the second shift is really interesting, where women are often picking up the brunt of the emotional housework, both at home and at the office. So they're picking up all the pieces in between, like, who organises the birthday cake in your office? But I'm betting if that's a woman, she's probably doing all that sort of thing at home as well. Exactly. And don't get me started on, many of my clients come from what we call the sandwich generation. So they are women at the peak of their earning potential in their career, who perhaps have kids who are grown, maybe the kids have grandkids, and then the woman also may have an ageing parent, 2 or even 4, who she is caring for emotionally as they age and need extra support. Absolutely. It's a tough gig for being a woman, and I think the biggest bit of advice is, reach out, get support. You do not have to do this for yourself. You do not have to do this on your own, and that fierce, independent blueprint that got you to where you are now might just be the thing that's keeping you from reaching your full potential.
Beautifully said, because we know, as you mentioned before, we are great for business. It's a very profitable venture to have men and women being collaborative, working well together for those business outcomes. And if you're definitely like me, viewers, I remember, when I had many hats, raising 5 children and doing 3 degrees and trying to do it all. That's right. With that scenario you said, aging parents, sicknesses, trying to do everything to everybody, it can become so exhausting. But I think one of the refreshing things about this kind of conversation is actually just the permission to talk about it, and then and surrounding yourself with people who are actually on your team, and they go, you know what? We all do that, so how are we going to actually navigate it better?
And I'd love to share some research with you. 2019, some research from 2 prestigious universities in the US. They were looking at the difference between how men and women network. And they wanted to know what really works for women, because, so often we've said you need to have men in your network to get ahead, and if you don't have enough men in your network, you won't get ahead. And I've said that too, but this research disproved it. What they found out was that in actual fact, women who network like men don't get as far ahead in their career. I know, fascinating. But women who surrounded themselves with a cohort of like-minded, career-minded women on a similar journey, a close cohort, they caught up regularly, they discussed tactics. They not only performed better, but they earned more and had far more career success. So I know which team I want to be in.
I want to be on. We are out of time today. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, Amanda. It's been a fantastic conversation, and to our viewers, thank you for joining us. It's been an absolutely fantastic episode. I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.
You're watching Ticker. We'll have more in just a few minutes.